Hello and welcome to another Canguro English Daily Digest. My name is Christian and today is Wednesday, best day of the week. Today's word of the day is related to what I want to talk about. So today's word of the day is rash. Now, rash has a few different meanings, but two of the most common meanings are very, very different. So, a rash can be like a skin irritation. Like, for example, maybe if you are allergic to, your fabric softener or to your fabric or your clothes detergent, and you wear the clothes, you might develop a rash on your skin. Or if you go out walking in the forest near some stinging nettles, you might develop a rash, a painful rash. And that comes to us from the Latin verb, which means to scrape. Okay, and that makes sense, because it's like your skin's been scraped and irritated by something, so you develop a rash. But the meaning I want to talk about today is completely different. It probably doesn't come from Latin. The origin's not certain, but the definition is marked by or proceeding from undue haste or a lack of deliberation or caution. Basically where you do something without thinking. People will often say, don't make any rash decisions. Don't make any decisions without properly thinking about, the pros and cons and weighing up the benefits. Or people might say that he had a kind of a rash personality, right? He had a lack of caution. He was brave and valorous. Now, if you think about things in life that require bravery and require you to abandon your caution, that require you to be rash, one of the things that requires you to be rash is to talk to strangers. Now, talking to strangers for a lot of people is the number one fear. For example, not just talking to strangers, but giving a presentation, talking in public is for most people their number one fear. It's actually higher rated than the fear of death, which is incredible when you think about it. And so part of that fear is talking to strangers, that they might judge you, that they might reject you, they might not want to talk to you. And a classic example of this fear in action, you can see it on public transport. So in general, on public transport, people don't talk to each other, right? Depends on the country, but in general, you go to New York, you go to London, people are, got their heads in a book. Even here in Australia, it's a small town, people aren't too inclined to chit-chat on public transport. But here's the thing, so I read this paper. When was it released? It was released in 1999. Okay, so it's about 20 years old. No, sorry. It's released in 2014. 2014, so it's fairly recent, and it's called Mistakenly Seeking Solitude. So what they did is they paid people to go onto public transport and talk to strangers. That was one of the experiments. Another experiment was they paid people to go into the waiting rooms of doctors' offices and talk to strangers. And what they discovered was that not only were people happy to engage in conversation, as in they were happy to talk, to start talking, but people were actually happy if they got talked to. So talking to strangers and also receiving talk makes you feel happy. It says here in the abstract, it says here, it says, the pleasure of connection is contagious. Human beings are social animals. Those who misunderstand the consequences of social interactions may not, in at least some contexts, be social enough for their own well-being. Basically, you think that people don't want to talk to you, but actually they do. It's human nature. Aristotle said that we're social animals. We want to talk to other people. So this is important to realize, because part of the reason that maybe you are afraid to engage in conversation and practice your English is because you think that, the other person doesn't want to hear your bad accent and your terrible grammar and all of your pauses. That's what you're thinking in your mind. They don't want to hear me speaking. But the research shows that by speaking to them, you actually make them happier. It's like doing a good deed for the day for them. And this idea that somehow, conversation is difficult, or conversation is onerous, conversation is something that to avoid is wrong, basically. So by using your English, by engaging in conversation, you feel happier, you make other people feel happier. It's win-win. It's a win-win situation. So no more excuses. Go and do it. I hope that you found this Daily Digest interesting, and please realize that there's the Canguro English Facebook group that you can go in and just find someone to speak to for free. Go and express yourself, and remember that the world wants to hear what you have to say. I'll see you in class.